My name is Mike Haggerty, and I run the Western New York Airsoft League. I'm the president of the group.
And how long have you been doing this, Mike?
I've been at this for about 6 years, give or take a little bit. Started with backyard springers with my brother-in-law, who actually showed up today, first time in a long time.
Nice. So what got you into it? I mean, how did you find out about airsoft, and why the passion now?
I was a hardcore paintballer right after high school, back in the 80s, which kind of gives you a clue how old I am. Back then, we did a lot of woods balls, what they call it now, where you would actually dress up in a military fashion, work as a team, and you try and complete objectives. It wasn't the speedball it's become nowadays. It's evolved into something that I didn't really like. So I got out of paintball, and many years later, after I'd gone through Real Steel, and we'd capture the flag and stuff when we'd go camping with my friends, but this was the logical step for me to take into. And when I first saw the first airsoft gun I ever saw was a P99 Springer. And it was one of those ones you had to manually cock, you'd fire it, and you'd cock, and you'd fire it. And it was kind of cool, and I asked my brother-in-law, I says, well, that's really neat, but do they come in full auto? And he says, well, of course. So I went home and dropped about $4,000 online.
Oh my goodness.
And I ordered MP5s and G3s and M16s and mags and batteries and all sorts of goodies. And at the time, my girlfriend was like, what are you doing? And of course, I had a good laugh at that. And we went through, and a couple of my friends got involved, and it started 6 years ago with 5 guys in the woods in Cherry Creek.
Well, that was 6 years ago. And how many guys? 5 guys? Five guys? What are you at now?
This event we had 127 show up, not including the military personnel. And our forums have about 400 and something, 430 on, 450 on, maybe. It's come a long way.
Now that's an interesting aspect of this specific event. You had some National Guard guys show up with a helicopter and some Humvees.
Yeah. The National Guard's been working hand in hand with us for about going on, maybe 9 months, 10 months. And 10 months had passed by. One of the guys in the group belonged to the National Guard. He'd gotten back from Iraq. He was an active member in the battles in Fallujah and a couple other places over there, the hot spots. When he was stationed back here, he pursued airsoft, which is something he had picked up before he left on deployment. And he came across us on the internet. And he shows up, and he's got all these pictures of Iraq, and he's got all these Humvees and tanks and cool stuff. So we started talking, and he said, well, I got a friend of mine who's a recruiter. He says, maybe you might be able to bring a Humvee or something out to one of your games. I thought that'd be kind of neat. I mean, we play on private land. We have 42 acres here we play on. And we can kind of get away with doing a little more than you could do on a very public field where people might see you. So I said, yeah, see if you can bring down a Humvee. So he brought down a Humvee. And 9 months later, I begged and pleaded him over the winter time. Hey, it'd be really cool is in our big game this summer if we could get like a really cool prop. And he says, well, how about a helicopter?
Well, I take my pants off.
What do I say to that?
You don't get much cooler in a helicopter.
Bring the helicopter. So he pulled the ropes, and Sergeant Park got us a helicopter. They dropped the Huey down here this morning at about 10 o'clock, and it sat in the middle of our playing field for a couple hours. It was pretty spectacular. I don't know anybody else around here who's done that.
That's absolutely amazing.
I was very happy.
You seem to have a really good group of guys here, players, women, men. I'm interested now, because this is my first event. How do you feel that this event went? This was a pretty big deal for you guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts now that it's sort of over? This specific one, you have one every month, but what about this one? How do you feel it went?
This one was probably the crown jewel of what we've done up till now. To be perfectly blunt. This is the highest attendance we've had is 120-something people, not including our prop people and people who were involved in setting up. The active players was 125, and that's huge for us. We have, like I said before, we have 42 acres of land we play on, and for us it's a really big deal as far as getting a really big turnout. It's very confusing, it's very chaotic, it's very hectic. You give somebody one order, and they go out in the field, and 10 minutes later they've forgotten it, and they're making their own orders up, which is kind of the confusion that happens, from what I understand in real. I've never personally served and been overseas, but from what I've seen from most of the vets that I've talked to who have been involved in any kind of foreign issues, there's always been a kind of a haze and a very confusing, aggravating, stressful kind of situation. And we've always tried to put that forth to the guys in the field. We don't want to make it too easy, we don't make it too hard. I think a lot of the guys have a good time with it. It's difficult, but you know, this is the same op plan we did 2 years ago, and we had 52 guys, and 52 guys went a lot smoother. But we had a good time with this one. Most of the guys that I've talked to that were here today had a great time, and I think that most of the guys will be back out again, I hope.
How about you? Did you have a good time?
I'm looking forward to the fireworks and going to sleep. Had a great time. I like coming out and doing the raffles and giving away prizes to people and showing my appreciation for the guys who come out here and do this every month with me.
Now, before we turn the camera on, you mentioned something about getting old before we started up this interview. So, how is it? You know, what is the age range for this sport?
From where we are in New York, most of the people that we have are probably, the median age group of our group is probably about 18 to 19-ish. I've got a lot of guys who are just out of high school, I have a lot of guys who are still in high school. We had a lot of college players, but most of the kids that when they get out of high school go to college and they go away for college. And so we don't see them for a couple of years. And then they come back if they want to, and you know, we kind of lose a few guys at that point in time. But we have a lot of older guys in the group. We've got a core group of probably, I want to say, maybe 30 or 40 older guys, and I say older, over 35.
Over 35.
And all these guys, you know, have become pretty much, you know, my best friends in this endeavor. All these guys have become my best teammates. They've helped me out through a lot of my own personal turmoils, and it's been great. I mean, I'm very privileged to know a lot of these gentlemen.
Well, Mike, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything you want to say before we turn this camera off?
Please wear your goggles. Nothing else, wear your goggles.